Well, welcome to another episode of Illinois' Historical Markers. Today we are in Massac County in southern Illinois, and there are some awesome surprises ahead for you in this county and its historical markers. Can't wait to show them to you. So stay with us, and here we go. So here we are at the George Rogers Clark campsite. Lieutenant Colonel George Rogers Clark and his troop of 170 volunteers, principally Virginians, camped near this site called Indian Point on June 30th, 1778. They were marching from Fort Massac to attack the British post at Kaskaskia. This was the first of 5 campsites on that march. Clark's men would take the post at Kaskaskia and later the British fort at Vincennes, Indiana. This work helped secure the Illinois territory for the United States during the Revolutionary War. And here we are at our next stop in Massac County. And this is the bell tower from the Upper Salem German Episcopalian Methodist Church. That's a mouthful. Upper Salem German Episcopalian Methodist Church. It was erected in 1853, 500 yards west of this location. The bell and bell tower remains as a symbol of the old building being gone, but the Lord's work ringing on. Okay, here we are in Metropolis, Illinois, and this is the statue of Lois Lane, and her name in the movies, or in the TV show, was Noelle Neal, and she acted in almost 100 movies, but she is best known for her portrayal of Lois Lane in the television series The Adventures of Superman. Miss Neal, also known as the First Lady of Metropolis, has been a favorite celebrity guest of numerous Superman celebrations. So there she is. And here we are, still in Metropolis, and this beautiful mural painted of Lower Ferry Street. If it was Saturday in 1910, then it was time to hitch up the horse and buggy and go to town to trade eggs and butter for groceries and denim overalls. Lower Ferry Street was the place to meet friends, catch up on the latest good news, bad news, or gossip, and just be part of the community of some 4,000 citizens. The street was so named because it led people to transportation by ferry boats for over 100 years. Here's another beautiful mural in Metropolis. This one of the old fire department. It was always exciting and dangerous when the fire bell rang. Black Charlie, the horse, kicked the back of his stall, and firefighters knew it was time to move fast. All citizens were proud when their equipment advanced from horse-drawn wagon to the awesome engine-powered 1924 to 1926 American LaFrance trucks. Bess, the fire dog, jumped for joy to her spot for the wild ride through town, letting women and children know that only men should be near a fire. It was such an honor to be part of the fire service that at photo time, Bess and a young fan named George snitched a seat and became part of the crew. Included in the rich history of our fire department have been many volunteers who faithfully and freely risked their lives when needed. The always beautiful 1926 LaFrance has been restored and is on display at the new fire station just west of this mural. Oh, that happened. And here is another beautiful mural. While fortunate to be on the banks of the Ohio, Metropolis has always had to deal with Mother Nature on a rampage, whether it was sightseeing with your friends by the Covington Hotel on Front Street in 1913 or struggling with personal catastrophe. The floods would dominate time and thoughts for weeks. But life goes on and babies are born no matter what. The baby on the right in this mural, born in 1937, was her parents' 13th child, and the now grown Metropolis resident says her mother never let her forget it. All right, we're still here in Metropolis. Apparently at one time there was a mural of this plaque here. It said it was a parachute plunge heard around the world when our own man of steel, John Marvin Steele, hung on a steeple of the Saint Mary Église church in France. It was D-Day, June 6, 1944. While the warning bells clanged and deafened him, he had no idea he would someday be portrayed in the movie The Longest Day as a symbol of those who gave their all in World War II. Shot and captured by the Germans, he escaped to serve again and is buried at the Masonic Cemetery on North Avenue here in Metropolis. Always grateful to this day, the citizens of St. Mary Église have kept a parachute and effigy of him hanging on the church for all to see and to remember. We are here at the Elijah P. Curtis home in Metropolis, but we're actually here to see this beautiful magnolia tree. It's a shame it's the wrong time of year to see some beautiful blossoms. But this is a huge magnolia tree. And this says, Southern Magnolia, as old as the house it guards, this majestic magnolia is celebrating its sesquicentennial. Thank you. Sesquicentennial. In 2020, a picture of the Elijah Curtis home when the Curtis family lived here shows the young magnolia. This tree was a seedling when it and others were brought up the Mississippi and Ohio rivers from Louisiana by steamboat. The unique triple trunk has supported the tree through 150 years. And we're here in Metropolis down at the waterfront of the Ohio River, and this is the Hope Light is the name of this marker. We're going up to this little plaque right here. It's dedicated to the fight against cancer on November 5th, 2014. It's the world's first lighthouse built to help fight cancer. Where there's light, there's hope. We are here at Fort Massac, the state park, right on the banks of the Ohio River in Metropolis, Illinois. And there's several of these markers scattered around the property. So we're going to find them and read them to you. And let's start with this one. This says, Illinois in the American Revolution. George Rogers Clark arrived at Fort Massac on June 30th, 1778, with about 175 men under orders from Virginia to capture the British outposts in Illinois. British failure to re-garrison the old French fort here enabled Clark to enter the Illinois country without opposition. The British at Kaskaskia expected an attack from the Mississippi River. By marching overland, Clark surprised them. He arrived at Kaskaskia on the night of July 4th to 5th and quickly secured the fort without resistance. Okay, we're here at the entrance to Fort Massac, and this says, historical, the monument, cannons, and fountain are erected on the site of Old Fort Massac. Here on the 20th of June, 1757, a fort called Fort Ascension, later known as Fort Massac, was completed by the French under Charles Philippe Aubry. It was destroyed by the French themselves in 1764, before this territory passed into the hands of the British. On this same spot, a second fort was completed by the United States on the 31st of March, 1794. and was occupied by a garrison until 1814 when it was finally abandoned. All right, this memorial is for C Blair in recognition of the efforts of Joseph Cullen Blair from 1871 to 1960 to preserve and beautify the state of Illinois through the establishment of Fort Massac State Park and the Illinois State Park system. C Blair is credited as the father of the Illinois State Park system for his role in establishing Illinois' first state park at Fort Massac. In 1903, DAR members Julia Scott and Letitia Green Stevenson promoted a bill drafted by Blair to the members of the Illinois legislature. It passed unanimously, and in 1908, Fort Massac State Park was dedicated. All right, 4 flags over Fort Massac. In the 1500s, it was Spanish ownership. 1702, there was a French trading post and mission. In 1757, French fortification to block British expansion into the Mississippi River named Fort Massac. In 1764, the French abandoned the fort to the British. In 1778, George Rogers Clark stopped here on his way to Kaskaskia. In 1794, George Washington ordered the fort rebuilt and garrisoned. In 1908, the site was designated the first Illinois State Park. All right, this says they passed this way. Home to thousands of men, women, and children, the Cherokee Nation once spread across parts of today's Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. The 1830 Indian Removal Act, horrible part of our history, required that the Cherokee and other southeastern tribes surrender their land and move west. In 1838, more than 15,000 Cherokee began their migration west from their eastern homeland to Indian Territory, which is present-day Oklahoma, over the Trail of Tears. They traveled by roads and rivers, with some passing by the ruins of Fort Massac. All right, this is a marker to honor George Rogers Clark in memory of George Rogers Clark and his faithful companions in arms, who by their enterprise, courage, devotion, and sagacity, that's a new word, sagacity, won the Illinois country for the Commonwealth of Virginia, and so for the American Union. This monument has been erected in the name of a grateful people by the Illinois chapters of the Daughters of the American Revolution, 1907, and it was restored in 2008. All right, this marker says Lewis and Clark in Illinois. On November 11th, 1803, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark arrived at Fort Massac. They spent 3 days here recruiting men to join their westward expedition. They also hired George Juilliard to act as an interpreter on the journey. Known for his hunting and scouting skills, Juilliard became a valuable member of the expedition. And this is for Druyere Creek and Druyere Trail, named in honor of George Druyere, who lived at Fort Massac before becoming one of the most valuable members of the Lewis and Clark expedition, 1803 to 1806. And it tells you how to pronounce it, so I got it right this time, Druyere. Okay, we're outside of Brookport, Illinois, which has a bridge over the Ohio River. And so here is a sign that says, "Welcome to Illinois." In 1673, the areas of the Mississippi and Illinois rivers were explored by Frenchmen Louis Joliet and Father Jacques Marquette. Their voyages resulted in French claims on the area until 1763, when by the Treaty of Paris, France ceded the land to Great Britain. During the Revolution, the Illinois Territory was won for the Commonwealth of Virginia by George Rogers Clark and his army. In 1784, it became part of the Northwest Territory, and on December 3rd, 1818, Illinois entered the Union as the 21st state. All right, and we're going to say goodbye to Massac County now. It's been wonderful looking at the different historical markers in Massac County, and if you get a chance, especially to come to Fort Massac, I really urge you to do that.